Hello, good morning, my friends. Welcome. You're watching on the Smart Money Culture TV network on your TVs in Texas and Louisiana, as well as around the world, streaming on multiple platforms. Always a pleasure here to be with you guys. There's a lot going on today. Of course, we have the FOMC meeting, the Fed, the privately held central bank here in the U.S., is expected to come out dovish. That is the general consensus around the world around the world and around here in Washington and New York, that Fed will come out dovish, and that should send markets flying. It could be short-lived, of course, with everything else going on in the world, but I think for now we're going to fly. We have the markets retraced quite a bit, kind of setting up the stage. You know, the guys on the inside, of course, they know what's going on, right? They know as well. It's been pretty obvious. They have been able to get inflation somewhat in line with what their target is supposed to be, 2%. And they've actually 2% inflation. This is what they've been saying for years. Basically, it just means that's the amount that they think they can tax you from inflation without the United States citizens getting too upset about it. It's worked so far. Of course, they have floated moving that to 3% as it's been harder and harder to get under control. But suffices to say that the different indicators that they use in order to track these things, they've decided that they're getting near that 2% range. It is as well an election year. And hey, probably a good idea. Let's lower the rates now. And that seems to, or not lower the rates now. And we expect them to hold the rates today. They like to forecast what to expect. And that is what we're expecting. We're expecting them to hold the rates today and indicate that there will be a rate reduction in September, and then maybe one in October or November. Still forecasting, looks like 3 different rates, or at least 2 to 3 different rate cuts this year. So the US dollar has, of course, slid. It's down about 0.5% today. We'll have the great Matt Dixon on here in a bit. Charting still shows that the US dollar should move up a little bit if our wave counts are correct, a little bit more before it goes further down. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Could be some other geopolitical situations that play into how that all works. U.S. debt tops $35 trillion. And I think that that's a hard number for people to get their head around. And I get it. Got to end the Fed. Okay. The only reason we have $35 trillion in debt, we don't owe it to China. We didn't borrow it from the Social Security. We didn't, all those things that they like to tell us that are all just baloney. Okay. That I figured out later on in life that those were just baloney that they like to tell us. Okay. The reason we have the debt is because the central bank has minted the money, has printed up the paper dollars, given them to Congress, who spend it like drunk sailors, and they attach every $100 billion with $3 to $5 billion in interest. So there's no way that we can ever get out of debt. There's just zero way that we will ever get out of debt as long as the Federal Reserve is in control of the country. There is no way that we will ever get out of debt, because every $100 billion that they print up, they charge another $3 to $5 billion to put in their pocket of debt. So it is impossible. It is completely impossible to pay off the national debt. It will always continue to get larger and larger as long as we are on this central banking cartel system of borrowing the money from the Federal Reserve. And it's not even really borrowing because they don't have the money either, but they're fronting it, lending it with fractional banking to us. And all of that, it always has, of course, that fee. And so we can never get out of it. Are Americans debt slaves? Now, throughout history, it is fairly interesting that throughout history, this system of usury, they call it, or interest on and lending money and interest, throughout history, this is something that has been allowed and not allowed, and like this. Historically, in Christian nations, it's not allowed, but kind of it always certain people bring it in, and then they oh, it's okay, because they tell you, okay, well, look, we'll give you whatever money you need, don't worry about it, we'll just give you whatever money. And then the other side of that is as soon as they start lending all of the money out that they have, then they say, well, hey, look, we'll just fractional reserve it, we don't need all the money, we'll just keep lending it to you. Okay, so it's always this spiraling thing, as well as in Muslim countries. I think this system is still not allowed in most of them, although in a lot of them, everybody is. It's a cycle. It keeps going in a cycle like this. So you have a base of a country, and they don't allow it, and then as things progress, or not progress, but then it just never fails. You have some guys that come in, they want to start lending the money, and somebody lets them lend the money. Maybe they bail out the government or something like that. Don't worry, guys, we'll just print more. And then you get on this system, and then there's no way out. There's literally no way out. You cannot get out of it. So at a certain point, you either have to end the practice, and whether that involves removing the people or not removing the people, or the country going bankrupt, which is what Elon's been talking about quite a bit, or however it happens, something has to give. Yeah, I mean, something has to happen. That's the way it works. So, 35 trillion in debt. I mean, that is no joke. Just to give you an idea of how much money that is, because I know it's hard to get your head around the figures. Just to give you an idea of how much money that is, in 2023, the Treasury, because the Federal Reserve is in charge of the policy. The U.S. Treasury is actually the one that mints the money. The Treasury minted about $6 trillion. Just to give you an idea, total mint. The tax, the federal income tax, is basically the burn. That's the burn of what happens. That's basically just the money that they take from you so that you don't have it. Because as long as you don't have it, you can't spend it. And if you can't spend it, then the dollars that are in circulations are worth more because people don't have them. And that's the way it works. It's a vicious cycle. Don't worry, though. The Federal Reserve is going to say print more. Printing press goes brrrr. Our election ballots and the U.S. dollar cousins, I said. Because that printer goes brrrr. The printer goes brrrr. Are they cousins? I don't know. Looks like they're cousins, right? Print those bad boys up. Print them up. Speaking of elections, of course, we have what is going on over in Venezuela. Is fairly interesting. The fact that the CIA and Blinken and all these different places have come out so strongly in support of this other guy makes me very suspect. I really don't know enough about the situation over there. Nobody really does. All you know is what you see on TV. But the fact that so much of your news coverage is about that just really should send off some warning signs in your head. What's going on over there? A lot of oil over there. There's also rumors of a lot of lithium, which would make it fairly interesting. The great Elon Musk has come out very strongly on this one. So strongly that, again, you have to sit there and say, what is going on here? What is going on? I mean, pretty girls. I mean, you know, what's going on? I don't know. Hard to say. It is really hard to say what is going on over there. I've been kind of keeping an eye on it just because it's so interesting. And you have this Maduro guy, and I get it. He's a bad hombre, right? I get it. The other guy, though, is backed by all the other bad hombres. So I don't know. I mean, I guess take your pick. I'm not going there, so whatever. I wouldn't mind, I suppose. Of course, then you have war heat. Just oof. And that's why I said this pump that we're going to probably get today may be short-lived. Over in the Middle East, they're going to have 3 days of mourning. The negotiator has been assassinated in Iran. He was there for the new president's inauguration. He's been assassinated by an assassin's missile in his residence there, and that has really inflamed everybody. You even have Qatar and these guys saying, how can we negotiate peace when you guys killed the negotiator? And again, I'm not an expert on that either, but I can tell you this: ain't no end in sight over there. So we should have some nice pumps in the markets, and then be careful as we move forward. Matt's going to tell us a bit more about it. Things are looking fairly primed. Sir Matt the Great, how are you?
Good morning, Bruce. Morning, everybody. Yeah, interesting what you're saying. It kind of aligns with my expectations. I've just been having a close look at the charts, short and long term. So it is potentially close to a turning point. I mean, we'll just jump in. I'll share my screen as usual and jump in and tell you what I've been seeing in the markets, or potentially seeing what's coming up in the markets. So hopefully you can see my screen there.
Yes, I see that S&P 500 with that continuous pump.
Yeah. I mean, short term, we've had a bit of a pullback. I've been just reassessing this. I'm not sure whether there's various ways this can be counted. These lines here, by the way, I just put them in, bit of a red herring. They're the Bitcoin halving events. If you remember, I was just showing that it's pretty well irrelevant. We know about Bitcoin halving. The whole market knows about Bitcoin halving. They know almost precisely when every halving is going to happen. And so it's definitely factored in. So it doesn't have any short-term effect on prices. Obviously, this is to do, it should have an impact on Bitcoin, but it's just a long-term impact. It's a beneficial effect because obviously the number of coins mined is reducing, the reward's reducing.
Inflation is reducing, basically, for the layman.
Yeah. So it's a great thing for the long-term price appreciation of Bitcoin, but short-term it has no effect on price because it is all factored in. And I just put them on the S&P 500 chart, these halving events, just to show. You could easily say every time there's a halving event, the price pumps on S&P 500 every single time that we've had a Bitcoin halving event. So it just shows you can say anything with statistics almost. You have to really delve into it and see if there's a real causation effect. And clearly there isn't a causation between Bitcoin halving and the S&P 500 pricing. And there isn't between Bitcoin halving and Bitcoin pricing. It just, people think there is, but there really isn't. If you look at it scientifically, statistically measured, there's no correlation there. And there's too few events anyway to draw any conclusions. I mean, 4 halving events since Bitcoin began isn't enough to draw any conclusions. So here's the S&P 500. As you say, eternal pumping of price. I mean, this goes back to the financial crisis of 2008-9. That was the low point back then. Since then, we've seen nothing but upwards with the price. I mean, obviously, there's been some mega corrections along the way. They don't look so mega when you look at it in the context of the big rise. But obviously, if you bought into the S&P here at 3003 and the crash down to 2001, then you got more than 50% downside on that crash. Then that was the COVID crash, 2020 COVID crash. Then we had
that was a big one.
Yeah, and then another crash here. We saw again, maybe 40, 50, what was it, from 4,700 down to 3,004. So maybe 40% or something. So again, a big crash there. So we're approaching a point where potentially we could get another correction. And the reason I'm just sort of focusing on this is we need to keep this in the back of our mind when we look at other assets. So we'll look at Bitcoin and just see what the potentials are there, because we're not saying for definite that the S&P will take a massive correction here. And this is just showing the direction, not particularly the magnitude of any correction. It could correct this much, could correct more or less, we don't know. I'm just trying to say that there's real potential for a turning point at this sort of level. And as I say, I've reassessed this chart. I think we have real potential to go to around 6,000 on S&P before we encounter major resistance that will give us potential for a big turnaround in prices. So we'll look at that in the context of monetary policy, what's happening in the world, and also what's happening with Bitcoin. So clearly, we're at a near a turning point with interest rates. So that may give us a final pump up in the markets. We're in an election year, of course, as well, which is very often positive for markets. But if we see a turnaround with interest rates, clearly, as Bruce has said, we're not going to see a rate reduction today, but we may hear hints that they're going to reduce rates in September. And the odds are on now. The market is basically expecting a rate reduction in September. So as more and more of that becomes likely, then we should get a positive reaction from the risk asset markets, Bitcoin, crypto, S&P 500, all of those markets should get a pump, because it just means monetary policy will be a little bit easier. People, debts are a little bit easier to service. And so there's more money flowing around in the system and more money to go into risk assets. And if interest rates are coming down on US debt, basically, then people are less likely to invest in US debt, which is effectively US dollar, and they put money into higher yielding assets, which could be Bitcoin, could be S&P 500, the risk assets. So that's why money, when interest rates are falling, that is why money flows into these risk assets, and you see a pump in risk assets. Obviously, if it were too serious a fall in the economy, then there might be something different. But for now, we'd just like to see a gradual reduction in interest rates coming maybe from September, and that's probably a positive thing. So why would they be reducing interest rates? Well, PCE, which is the Fed's preferred measure of inflation, is coming now under control. So we're around about 2.5% now, which is only 0.5% above their target. And as we said many times, they cannot wait to hit the target before they reduce interest rates, because it's like a big, massive cruise ship that takes time to turn. When you change interest rates, there's a long lag effect before it actually affects the economy. So they need to see that the economy is showing some signs of slowing. And they actually showed a number of indicators today, employment and housing and all sorts of indicators showing that the economy is beginning to slow now. So the cruise ship is slowing down. So we need to try and give a bit of stimulus. And that's why, although they won't do it today, because the Fed like to give a bit of warning in advance. So I think they're going to give some advanced warning. And we've had this from the Fed speakers as well, that the economy is close to a turning point, that interest rates are close to turning. And I think we're going to see that come September. Obviously, they've reduced. They had 5 rate cuts labeled for this year. None of it's happened so far. But I think we're going to see September. And I actually think that the economy will probably begin to show signs of turning. So that interest rate reduction, if it happens and materializes in September, won't have an immediate effect. And so the economy will probably continue to slow a little bit toward the end of the year. And so we may well see a second rate reduction later. So I think I think we're going to see two reductions this year. That's my feeling. And that's probably going to be reasonably positive for risk assets. So as I say, just keep in mind that potentially we're expecting some further upward movement on the S&P 500, but then a potential for a turnaround. We could, of course, break through and go higher again, but potentially there's a fair chance that we're going to see a turnaround in the S&P 500. So if we flip over now to Bitcoin, in fact, I'll go to a different Bitcoin chart that I labeled earlier today. I've gone to this one because it's my very long-term chart for Bitcoin. Price before this time, before 2017, was very, very low for Bitcoin. But I actually drew my Fibonacci right from the beginning back in 2009 for Bitcoin. And that's where I drew my first Fibonacci measurement from the beginning up to the top of this wave here, which I have labeled as wave 5, which is actually 1 or A of a bigger time scale. So we've got basically wave 1 up in red, 2 down, 3 up, 4 down, 5 up. It's all within the rules. Wave 4 does not overlap into wave 1. Wave 3 was, as you would expect, the extended wave. It was itself made up of 5 waves. The 5th wave was also made up of 5 waves. So a really nice 5-wave move. Now that 5-wave move can be labeled as wave 1 or wave A on the way, on this particular count. So there's no way of actually telling for certain which one it is, but there are very different implications long term. So after that wave 1 or wave A, whichever one it is, you would expect a retracement, most probably in 3 waves. So we've had that retracement in the form of an A, a B, and a C to the downside. And that's basically a larger wave B or wave 2. So like it was wave 1 or A up, we can then have wave 2 or wave B down. Still, we can't tell which it is, whether it's a 1, 2, 3 or an A, B, C. So then the next move we have from the bottom, and this was the FTX low here of 15,500-ish. That was when we had the big fallout from FTX and the FTT token and Sam Bankman-Fried and all that was going on at the time, and the big stresses in the stable coins and bank failures, and there's all sorts of things going on, and that was a real crisis in the markets, and that's why we saw the low there in Bitcoin and other markets as well that were correlated. Then from that time, we've moved up really nicely, impulsively, looking like it's going to be another 5-wave move to the upside. So 1 in red, 2 down, red, 3 up, red, 4 down, red, and then a 5 up. I've got labeled potentially up here, and I've got the arrow showing the direction of the movement. Now that can be, and I've probably got it labeled if I just shrink the chart a little bit, that can be either wave 3 or wave C. Now, if it's wave 3, in actual fact, it's unlikely to stop here. It would probably just continue straight on through. And that's what I said about the S&P 500. There was a target at the 100% extension, which is what we have labeled here for Bitcoin at 84,000. Now, if we look at the bearish scenario, that would be calling it an ABC. If you have ABC, the next movement, that's a correction. You would then expect downward movement. But even so, we would still expect the C wave to at least equal the A wave. And given that, the target would be 84,000 and a bit for Bitcoin. So right now we're at 66,000. So still potentially 18,000 upside there for Bitcoin from where we are now. And that's looking at the more bearish scenario. I'm not saying the correction's completely over. We may get a bit of a pullback, could chop around here, but it looks like we've had 3 waves back here, an A, a B, and a C, a 3-wave pullback in wave 4, and we should push up now in wave 5. Whether, as I say, within this, there could be a bit of scope for movement, even potential further movement down. But overall, we're expecting a movement up in wave 5. Whether you count it as 1, 2, 3 or ABC, whichever it is, some point soon, we expect to move up probably to at least 84,000. So your risk reward on this is really good because there's more upside than downside. And if it were wave 3, loads more upside. But let's just think about the potential 2 scenarios here. The one scenario is, as I said, that it's 1, 2, 3. We then get a good pullback in wave 4, and then a massive pump again in wave 5 to new all-time highs. Once again, probably way above 84,000, maybe 100,000, maybe much, much more. Who knows? If it's wave 3, you'd expect it to move to at least, and I think we've done this exercise before, to at least 1.618 times wave 1. So 1.618 times wave 1 would take us to a target of 127,000 for wave 3. So if it's not ABC, if it's 1, 2, 3, wave 3 wouldn't stop here, highly unlikely to stop here. Wave 3 would actually take us probably to a minimum, and wave 3 is normally a minimum 1.618, so 127,000. But with cryptocurrency, cryptos tend to be more volatile, and when you see appreciation, you tend to see more appreciation and further Fibonacci extensions than you see with a lot of traditional assets. So I would expect a Bitcoin extension, if we're in a third wave, probably to sail straight through the 1.618 and probably go to at least 2.618. Now, we've done this exercise before, but it's good to remind you what the potentials are if we are in a long-term impulsive move for Bitcoin. And think about it, the potential is there because, as Bruce has said, this money printing is really fraught with problems and it just dilutes the value of the US dollar. And if Bitcoin is priced in US dollar and the dollar is just continually devaluing, they've got how much now? 35 trillion of debt, I think it is, in America.
35 trillion.
Absolutely.
And no way to get out of it. That's what people don't get.
Well, they have got a way out of it, Bruce. They can print some more money just to pay off the debt.
Exactly. Which attaches some more debt. Yeah, it's
exactly. So 35 billion.
Never gone down in our lifetime, I think.
Oh no, I don't think there's any way because especially they're not able to reduce interest rates at the moment. They need to reduce interest rates anyway, just to try and relieve that debt burden as the debt is growing so much. But if the economy slows, they will then need to stimulate the economy, and maybe they need more than lowering interest rates. Maybe they'll need to print more money again to stimulate the economy. Then the debt burden gets worse. So it's just
and I don't know, does the war play into it too? Because they love war. So that must somehow play into the whole thing. I'm not sure exactly how that plays in, but
yeah, you're right. I mean, they've been borrowing extra to fund war all around the world, haven't they? I mean,
yeah.
So definitely has an effect on the money printing machine.
There's definitely a correlation there. Big time.
So if we were to get to the 2.618 extension here, that would take us to a Bitcoin price of 195,000. And I will take you to the next major extension that is often reasonably common with cryptocurrencies. The next major extension will be the 4.238. And I saw that, by the way, in the 2008 financial crisis when I was trading the Japanese yen against the Australian dollar. The movement went to 4.236. So when you see extreme price moves, and that's a risk pair that has extreme price moves. With cryptocurrency, you do often see extreme price moves. So if we got to the 4.236, that would take the Bitcoin price to 307,000. And that's perfectly feasible. It's not dreaming. It's a real possibility. But we do need to also take into account the potential for this just to be, instead of 1, 2, 3, which could be much higher, it could be just ABC. And we have to look at what could potentially cause the markets to turn around and this just to be an ABC and get a big pullback. And I think that the only thing that can turn the markets so dramatically at this stage, the Bitcoin market, because there's so much of a foundation built now for Bitcoin. Institutions everywhere are buying into Bitcoin. The Fed are talking about adding it to strategic reserve. I think they're talking about, I did actually post something about it this morning where they're looking over a 5-year period to add 200,000 Bitcoin a year, making 1 million Bitcoin reserve, which the implications of that would be massively positive.
Massive. I mean, you're talking about a 5% position in Bitcoin.
But if the US government are doing that, you can imagine all of the institutions, all of the pension funds, they'll see the signs, everybody will be jumping in. And you really could then see potentially Bitcoin 1 million. So the fundamentals are really strong. Of course, we now have the Bitcoin ETF, which allows everyone to get in legally and easily and safely with safe custody, et cetera, et cetera. So Fundamentals are massively in favor with this limited supply for Bitcoin, unlimited supply for the US dollar, then basically unlimited potential upside for Bitcoin. But I'm just saying the only thing that I think could potentially turn this around seriously to the downside would be geopolitical. I don't think the economy is at the moment in danger of falling off a cliff. Yes, I think we are going to see a recession, but I don't think that would be enough to cause Bitcoin to fall off a cliff. It's going to be a geopolitical, I mean, I'm just giving out the potential scenarios, a black swan event like another pandemic, a geopolitical, which is a black swan event, although maybe not so black swan at the moment, because it may be really brewing in the Middle East, for example. As you said, the Iranians are really upset about this recent killing at something that they hosted, a meeting that they hosted. So there's a lot of potential for things to kick off there in the Middle East. And that is the thing that could potentially cause a real turnaround. So we've got to factor this into our trading. But short term, I don't think there aren't any serious clouds short term from a chart perspective. And we've so often said, haven't we, Bruce, that the charts often tell you what's going to happen before you know what's actually causing what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing that the charts tell you. So here the chart is telling us that we've had a 3-wave pullback, that we do expect a new high to take us to wave 5. We couldn't really, I don't see how we could finish at this level. I mean, you never say never, but I don't see how we could finish here with having this very clean 3-wave pullback without pushing to new all-time highs. Yep. Elliott wave theorists might say you could get what's called a truncation in the markets. I've never actually seen what's called a truncation. It's actually where the wave 5 fails to materialize and the market's just turned down. I've never actually seen it. I think it's just an excuse to cover up miscounts when they get the counting wrong. I don't think it's otherwise, if you can have truncations, it basically means forget Elliott wave, because there are exceptions. And I think you need to have something that's has hard and fast rules, that there's always an explanation for what happens. So anyway, expected upside for Bitcoin, whether it's immediate, but in the reasonably near future, expected upside at least to 84,000, possibly way, way beyond. Let's look at what's happening shorter term on the dollar index, the DXY. Now, obviously, what happens today with the Fed, an interest rate decision, I'll move to a much shorter time frame, 4 hours, I think. What happens today is going to have a major impact. So clearly the expectations are for some dovishness, because we've had quite a strong downturn in the dollar index, the DXY here. So come down to 104.12. That could be continued if we see more dovishness, but clearly the markets are anticipating dovishness, and that's why basically it's moved down so much. We may get a surprise and may move a little bit higher, as I've got labeled here.
Yeah, I see that.
It could potentially be the C was already over here. I mean, that's a real possibility. So again, it's a perfect ABC. Just move that out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. We've got a very nice A, B, and a C again. And this actually looks quite an impulsive move down to the downside. So it could be complete, this correction. And I've said for a long time, this support zone, while it acted as perfect support here, and it was the 100% extension of a previous Fibonacci measurement, we had an ABC higher. So the next move down should break straight through that. So if we get dovishness, expect this dollar index to fall straight through here, fall like a stone, and not through butter through this support. And if that happens, then we should get a really good pump on risk assets. So the risk assets have been priming really well. As you know, one, as I mentioned it a few times, we're having a little bit of a pullback at the moment, profit taking, I guess, because I mentioned it only 1 week ago that we had a perfect ABC correction down. We had perfect hidden bullish divergence here. If you had the RSI, you'd see lower lows on RSI and you see higher lows on price. So there's perfect signals here to buy in at this level, which was 0.077 or 0.0077. That was the level I said is a good buy area. right now, well, we've got up 40% basically in 1 week alone. So it just shows the potential if you do get these, if you do follow the charts and the signals and get it right, massive potential upside. And as I say, the downside was very limited because you put your stop loss just below this line here, this bullish divergence line here, and potential for all this upside. We look as though we probably had some kind of ABC move down. So I do think, a bit like Bitcoin's potential for a lot more upside. And actually, if we to zoom out a little bit, I'll go on to daily, we can see that there's lots of potential for upside here with Book of Memes, because we had very impulsive move when it first came out. We've had corrective overlapping moves since that time. We may still chop around and correct even more, but longer term, I expect us to challenge this previous all-time high for Book of Memes, which is 100% higher or more than where we are now. I think it's way more than 100% higher. Massively.
What is the market cap right now of Book of Memes?
Let's just have a look here. Normally it says, just interestingly, actually, on this is TradingView, they've got it using their technicals that they use. They've got it as a buy signal at the moment for Book of Memes, and you can see the performance here: 1 week 22%, a month just 5%, 3 months 13%, 6 months 111%, a year, the year to date, which is just over 6 months, is 111%. So that's when it started, basically. So 111% from the start.
Fully diluted market cap right now, I just pulled over 718 million, number 92. A little bit of a pullback today, but yeah, it's a, we said this when it first came out. These guys are professionals. Still up, even with the pullback here, still up nearly 20% on the 7-day.
Yeah. One I've been reading, I mean, I know I've been very positive, and I still actually, I don't take too much note of what I read because people just like to print stuff for no particular reason. They're saying that Toncoin, admittedly, it has fallen below, I think it's a 50 moving average.
Which one, Toncoin?
Toncoin, yeah. But actually, this looks extremely corrective to the downside. So I'm actually still expecting, I think like Bitcoin, expectations are for higher. And I think we're going to see new all-time highs reasonably soon. So whilst I've read, from Ton. So
I'll tell you what, that ecosystem is booming.
Yeah.
Just from a perspective, I'm like on X every day. I'm talking to a lot of different people in the space. I'm looking at the projects. That ecosystem is booming.
Absolutely. And we've got at least 25% to higher just to challenge the previous all-time high. And I think we're going to go way to new highs well above that. So again, like a lot of the other cryptos that we've been looking at, there's lots of upside potential there. I just wanted to, well, have a look at gold while we're here, just see where gold's at. We're still within that channel. I think gold may take a bit of a turn down. I think we're probably still going to reach this base channel here, but upside is good. Even if you're dollar cost averaging throughout this channel here, I think there's new all-time highs still to come for gold. So that's really bullish outlook there. Solana has been, again, amazingly positive. It's actually looking reasonably good even today, whilst there's been a pullback in some of the assets. Solana is still pushing higher, and I think won't be long at all. A bit like Bitcoin, we've had an ABC pullback after a long period of rising, just ABC pullback. So we're going to challenge this local high of $209 and probably push straight through there towards the all-time high of $259, I think it was. So really positive there. I just posted a bit of positive news last night. I haven't got the eBay chart on here, actually. In fact, I don't think it's on TradingView right now. So I look at it on CoinGecko. I posted some positive news, and I saw there was a bit of buying came in. So we're actually up over 50% since yesterday on eBay. So the eBay launch, just to let people know, the launch on the listing is penciled in. In fact, it's almost penned in now for August the 18th. So we'll be doing a feature before that time, just on the opportunities with eBay. But as I say, just on that news that was posted last night, there's no invitation to buy, nothing at all. but the price went up 50%.
Nice. And
so-
that's a listing on where?
We're listing on CoinStore, which is actually a
Nice.
modest exchange, but they're
Yep.
one of the most active in the emerging
have-
markets.
Yes, a lot of traders, new projects, a lot of traders. They're working it. Those guys are working it.
Yeah. They have, I think, 3.5 million active users, so they're
Yeah.
pretty good. They're growing really fast. One of those exchanges, and the other thing is they're regulated, so you can be a lot more. You can feel a lot more secure trading on a regulated exchange, and one that's growing very fast and has a massive user base. It's solid. So eBay, we're really proud to be associated with that and to be listing on there, as I say, on the 18th. But we'll come out with a feature before that just to tell you about the opportunities there. I know I've been on this already, but I just want to focus again, this dollar index. It really does appear to have had an ABC higher here, and we look as though we are pushing down. You can see this is on I think looking on a slightly longer term. I think we looked on the 4-hour chart. It's looking really as though we should quite likely to break this support, possibly even today with the Fed announcement, the Fed news. So I do think that they're going to have to give clues at long last that they're going to start reducing rates in September. So that's going to be massively positive. So the markets are treading water really a little bit. You can see there's actually a whole mixture of positives and negatives across the market. So net, the market's actually doing virtually nothing. Bitcoin is down 0.25%. Solana's up 1.8%. Gold is up 0.3%. Oil is up a little bit, but actually it's been in the doldrums a bit. And I think that's a sign the economy may be slowing a little bit. And also, as I say, I'm always saying there's a correlation between gold and oil. Gold has been coming down a bit within that ending diagonal that I think we're in. And oil has also been trending down. So they're highly correlated there. But as I say, across the board, even Doge is down 0.19% at the moment. But if we get the news that we hope for, then we should see massive pump in all of these. So these should all turn green, we hope, by tomorrow. So tomorrow is going to be very interesting. I'll be live tonight on, let me just think, I'll be on the Mario Show live tonight talking about the interest rate setting and the Fed meeting. I'll be posting stuff live on Twitter, on X, just to let you know what's happening, because this is a big event. This is a market mover, and it's one that we need to be watching. If we're active in the markets, trading at all, we need to keep our eyes. This is one of the big events of the year that we need to keep a close eye on.
For sure.
Yeah, so that's it for today, Bruce. Obviously, loads more we can talk about, but hopefully gives you a flavour of what's to come for tonight and probably in the weeks and months ahead. The only potential hiccup is geopolitical issues. So let's hope that they can resolve these issues without there being any major fallout, and then we might see Bitcoin go to those extended levels, even up to 300,000. Let's see.
Yep. Cool.
Well, thank you, Bruce. Thank you, everybody, for listening. It's been a real pleasure, and look forward to catching up tomorrow with the latest news.
We will be watching. Thank you very much, Matt.
Cheers.
All right, well, there you have it, guys. It's the markets are kind of treading water at the moment. A lot of people are waiting. Some people are writing it out, of course, as we walk into this meeting today, this much awaited meeting, the FOMC meeting that will decide, or give indications of what the interest rates are going to be. Obviously, if the interest rates come down, that means the dollar is going to come down. That means the risk assets are going to go up. Historically, that's the way it works. So we're all watching. You may be in the market. You may be sitting to the side waiting to put it in. I did mention yesterday, and I'll say it again, times like this are very risky to be in the market, especially if you're holding a leveraged position. If you're holding a leverage position, be very careful. If you are going to hold that leverage position, make sure that you're very well collateralized on that, because the opportunity and historically the wicks that go up, down and up and down are massive. They can be very deep, and we even call them liquidation wicks. Okay, and it is not sometimes indicative of what way the market's going to go. It might wick down very aggressively, and then total market moves up, and you don't want to be in a position where you're completely liquidated and you can't, you have to throw in some more money in order to participate in all that. So I want to talk real quick, of course, one of our favorite holds that I have, of course, is Polka Gold. Polka Gold is one of my favorites here. I just wanted to show. Now they are up today. They are moving up. Polka Gold has a very interesting setup because, well, for a number of reasons, but one of them is because they have this locked liquidity structure that I've talked about quite a bit. So Polka Gold was released with by some Algorand. They're anonymous actually, but they're Algorand and Polka Dot whales, and they locked all the liquidity and all the supply into the setup. And so I've been a very strong proponent of this. I'm long on these assets. I like the team. I like the community. I also like the way that they're building the community and they're building everything. And also, Algorand as well. Algorand is a very interesting. Let me just pull up the site here. Polka. Here we go. Algorand is a very interesting ecosystem to build on. The guy, he's an MIT guy, the guy that started it, he's an Italian guy. I really like that community, and it has a lot of room to grow right now from the bottom, already up over 100% from the bottom. And if things keep moving the way that it's moving, Algorand has a long way to go. So if that happens, a rising tide raises all ships, right? And that should move up. Now, the other thing that this community has done that I really like is they have started to build even meme coins that they're backing. So they started their own Polka P Gold. Let me just make a note. They started their own meme coin, which is called Dalgo. And Dalgo, they did the same thing with Dalgo that they did with their own token, and that was they locked all of the liquidity here. So here we have Dalgo right here. This is the meme killer. This is their this is the song they put together. Pretty cool.
Yeah, Dalgo is the meme killer. Cashing up with your thriller. House party lights all flashing. Pop a bottle, no relaxing. Flexing in the VIP. Bitches kinda feeling free. Thug life, we wildin' out. Nothing but that money cloud. Dalgo, we ballin' worldwide. Need money, we can't hide. Poppin' tags like it's FOMO. In the streets, no time for lows. Drink in hand, it's a vibe. Haters watching, trying to snipe. We bring the heat, no denying. In the club, Dalgo flying. Got my crew, yeah, we deep. Stacking sats, no time for sleep. Bitches dancing, feel that fire. Dalgo fam, we taking it high. Dalgo, we ballin' worldwide. Need money, we can't hide. Poppin' tags like it's FOMO. In the streets, no time for lows. Drink in hand, it's a vibe. Haters watching, trying to snipe. We bring the heat, no denying. In the club, Dalgo flying. Got my crew, yeah, we deep. Stacking sats, no time for sleep. Bitches dancing, feel that fire. Dalgo fam, we taking it high. Dalgo, we falling worldwide. Need money, we can't hide. Popping tags like it's FOMO. In the streets, no time for lows. Drink in hand, it's a vibe. Haters watching, trying to snipe. We bring the heat, no denying. In the club, Dalgo's flying. Got my crew, yeah, we deep. Stacking sats, no time for sleep. Bitches dancing, feel that fire. Dalgo fam, we taking it higher. New York City, we own the night. The Dalgo fam, we ready to fight. Meme lords, we taking over. Flip the script, we got the clover. All these hookers wanna front. but we grinding, never stunned. Algo making big moves. In the game, we got the groove. So raise your glass, let's toast to the ones who do the most. For the life we live in bold. Algo worldwide, watch it unfold. Algo, we ballin' worldwide. Me money we can't hide. Popping tags like it's FOMO in the streets, no time for lows. So remember the name is clear. Algo's here, bring the cheer. Me money, house party high. We the kings, watch us fly. So remember the name is clear. Algo's here, bring the cheer. Me money, house party high. We the kings, watch us fly.
Well, so you see, I mean, it's a, you know, and look, the meme coins are a great way of, I'll just repost that. Meme coins are a great way of growing the community. Okay, and you can see they're active here on their Twitter account, and they have their own meme coin. Okay, and not only that, but they locked 10%. So they're backed by Algorand. Its liquidity's locked. And then they locked 10% of the total supply of Polka gold into the DEXs, into the smart contracts. 10% of the total supply of Polka gold into that contract. And so the liquidity, locked liquidity on this Dalgo, which is also a play on Algorand, Algo, so it's Dalgo, so it's a nod to Algorand. These are smart guys. They've done a great job of putting it together, and I think that we could have some explosive growth on both of these assets as we start to move up. We go to 84,000 Bitcoin. Of course, these alts are going to really just more than likely ramp up. Not a financial advice. Well, you know, all that jazz that I'm supposed to say. I get paid to do this stuff. Okay. You know, all those things aside, it's strong. It is a very strong one. So as well, I wanted to talk about our good friends at Coin Vigilante. Coin Vigilante watches. These are amazing American-made timepieces. I talk about them really every day because these are, you know, number one, you want to buy American, okay, and these American made timepieces are beautiful timepieces, and they are part and parcel of the American of the Bitcoin monetary revolution. Okay, so they're part and parcel of the Bitcoin monetary revolution. Make sure to use code Impact Money when you buy those. Okay, you use code Impact Money, get yourself a 10% discount while you're there. Okay, and so this Coin Vigilante watches, wonderful timepieces. Of course, this is backed by the great Bitcoin Ben. Bitcoin Ben, you guys probably know Bitcoin Ben. He is a very interesting guy, and you know, it's not just a currency; it's a movement. The monetary revolution, Coin Vigilante watches. Make sure to check them out. Go to coinvigilante.com and make sure to use code Impact Money. They have beautiful watches for the ladies as well as the men. You can even just scroll here. Bitcoin watches, extremely limited. Right here we have these different watches. Okay, and then of course designed for her as well. Make sure to check them out. Check them out. Bitcoin, Coin Vigilante watches. Coin Vigilante watches. And I would be remiss if I didn't also cover our good friends over here at Tangem. Tangem wallet. This is a hardware wallet. Don't keep your coins on an exchange. Go to tangem.com, use promo code Impact Money. Okay, you can see a theme here, right? Impact Money, get yourself 10% off over there. I'm just looking for my my thing here. Tangem. Where are they? Here we go. Use code Impact Money. That's on tangem.com. They also, very interestingly, they have a ring. And I think the ring is really cool. Okay. I mean, check this thing out. That's a hardware wallet. You can wear it on your ring. It comes with two of the slim wallets that are like, credit card size as well. And you can carry it on with you, nice and fashionable, on your finger, as well as keep one in the safety deposit box and one in the safe. Tangem wallet, make sure to check them out. Tangem.com. Tangem.com. I'm a big supporter, and I do see those are definitely one of the things that people do like to buy. They like to buy the Tangem wallets, and you can hold all kinds of different coins on there. Okay, so I have an interesting guest for us today. Talked to him a bit. One of my good friends brought over this guy. His name here is let me just pull him up here. He's doing AI Wars. I actually just put out a little teaser about the AI Wars. He's doing a movie. Let's see here. AI Wars. Alien Invasion movie with Cyrus Parsa. Now, Cyrus has a number of books out. He's a pretty interesting guy. He's done a number of things here. And I'm going to pull him on, but I'm going to queue up my post here as I do it. The AI is just absolutely crazy. And of course, aliens, I think most people think probably aliens are here. Do you think that aliens are here? I think that the aliens may be here. We'll see here. I guess he's going to tell us. He's got a pretty interesting background. I don't know that we're going to talk about. It's like a lot of things that I do. There's some stuff that we're going to talk about, and then there's other stuff that we're not going to talk about. And that's going to be at 57. Some stuff we're going to talk about, and some stuff we're not going to talk about, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and bring him on here. I have Cyrus Parsa, the great Cyrus Parsa. How are you doing, sir? Good morning to you.
Good morning, Bruce, and your audience. Thank you.
Yes. So pretty interesting conversation that we had yesterday, of course. And actually your background and everything over what has even happened over the last 24 hours. Interesting. Real quick, I do feel like I may have a feedback. Is there you have two different devices on, or is that me?
Negative. It's just one audio device.
Are you watching on your computer? Were you watching the show?
No, I'm seeing my screen through my camera.
Okay, perfect. Well, I just closed one of my windows, and that does seem to have taken care of it. I'll keep an eye on it. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what got you into this space where you're doing this movie, AI Wars.
Okay, well, I'm an author of a few books. Artificial Intelligence, Dangerous to Humanity is one of them, where it predicted, detected, and warned the bioweapon and the vaccines in late 2019. And I advised the director of CIA Covert Ops that the world was in danger. A few months prior to that, I reached out to the president's inner circle. No one listened, and joined social media, wrote a few more books. And my main concern was making sure that we don't enter, lockdowns, mandated vaccine with nanotech, which I predicted. And I put out a film called AI, the Plan to Invade Humanity in April 24, 2020, stating in that film that mandated vaccines with quarantines involving nanotechnology are coming out, and then you would lose your freedom. And later on, the president will get hit right before election. That was actually even my book. And later on, we get to a scenario where in my new proposed movie that we're going to make called AI Wars, Alien Invasion, in that scenario, my warning to the world is that China, Iran, Russia, and North Korea are going to align together and with a hypersonic missile battle involving nuclear warheads, go at the U.S., Europe, and Israel, and vice versa. And this would cause not just a World War III, but potentially with submarines near our coasts. I put this trailer out about a year and 3 months ago. It would cause tsunamis because our hypersonic missiles would hit underneath the ocean and so on. So I would like funding support at gotstudios.com so I can pay the actors and hire the right CGI audio and video people. So this is very important that we get the support.
All right, so let's talk about this a little bit more now. I'm going to just Google. Will I be able to find the trailer here real quick? I would love to play the trailer.
If you go to YouTube and go to AI Wars Alien Invasion,
I got it. All right, let me share my
go to
screen
the
here.
sizzle trailer. You look at that one.
All right, I think I got it here. Good old Google, even though they're total government controlled job here, I still use them. Can you believe that? Here we go.
Show a little bit of it, and then at the end, it's me giving a spiel about the hypersonic missiles.
Okay, so we'll show a little bit of it. But...
It's just a sizzle trailer, by the way.
Okay. Is that you?
Yeah, yes, it is. Wondering how I predicted and warned of COVID, the vaccines, everything. So I used remote viewing.
All right, hold on. We're going to dig into that for a minute.
Those are testicles, alien testicles, for sure.
What's that?
They are alien testicles. We're wondering what they are.
Not by my dumbass. The UFOs landed over by Camp Perry. Don't worry about it. Cyrus took them out.
Interesting. Should I stop it here or keep going?
Go for another 30 seconds.
Okay.
Okay, now you can forward up to where I speak then. You go up. Go all the way up. Keep on going. Keep on going.
Connecting to quantum machines.
Right there.
It comes from our 2020 film organization, God Studios.
It's a global thing.
This is Cyrus Parsum, the founder of the AI organization, God Studios, and the creator director of AI Wars, Alien Invasion, which comes from our 2020 film called AI, the Plan to Invade Humanity, and help declassify our UFO files with the long-term secret invasion plan to invade and replace humanity powered by AI. Our movie AI Wars is currently in production. We need your help to continue to pay for our actors and actresses and our production costs. And we're doing this movie for a very special reason. Back in 2019, with all my heart, I try to not only save your lives, but your freedoms by warning about the bioweapon of China, lockdowns, deaths, and of course, coming nuclear wars. I'm warning you again, at any time, the governments of Russia and North Korea Iran, and China in a conflict with the governments of Europe, Israel, and US, with hypersonic missiles, not just from the sky, but from the oceans, causing tidal waves, tsunamis, and destroying your futures with famines and radiations. I also believe there's a mind virus. I call it an alien mind virus, affecting the minds of our world leaders, going down the destructive path. So we'd like your help to fund this movie so we can yank out this mind virus and save your futures. Now, you may think this is sci-fi. I guarantee you, we're sure the best sci-fi movie you could ever watch. But let me tell you, I believe the creator of this universe not only loves this world, but loves you very much. So please, go to GodStudios.com or AIWarsMovie.com and help us make this movie. Thank you.
9.
9.
Interesting. Now, I gotta let's talk about that in a minute, but because you did drop the remote viewing, so I gotta follow up on it. You said I was able to predict the COVID crisis and everything like that because of remote viewing. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I mean, how did?
Not just remote viewing. I lived with fighting monks in China for a year. I've had my what you call the pineal gland third eye or remote viewing since I was a little kid, and then the past 20 years, my teacher out in New York passed on to me his knowledge going back from one master to another over 5,000 years. So when I was sitting in meditation, if you saw in that trailer, in 2018, early 2019, I saw the lab, I saw what they were making, and then I used my DHS contacts, my CIA contacts, try to get to the president and listen. Then I went and met Mikhail Damilincourt in June 2019 at the Trump International Hotel, Washington, D.C. He's a French director of the Trump Hotel. I told him that this bioweapon is going to be released in 6 months, and a year and a half from now, right before election, it'll hit Trump and it'll go out of office. Later, we'll have global wars. And he thought, how is it possible? I told him I'm the CEO of the AI organization, and I've developed a certain technology that neither the Pentagon or Google has. I couldn't tell him how I knew this because he wouldn't believe me, right? But then I wrote it down, published it in my books, my report to Secret Service. So in October 2020, October 2019, October 2019, published, and it says right in there, an artificial intelligence danger to humanity, that I gave this report to the Trump contact, and then the CIA Corporate Ops Director, Secret Service, and then right before the election, he would get hit. Then I got on a bunch of shows in 2020 saying that this will happen, and it happened just like that. So yes, I used my third eye, as you would say, and I saw the future of the pandemic, the riots, the global wars later on. So now I'm making this movie, and I've asked the audience of people, please go to godstudios.com, donate, and help us make this movie. I just need the funding to pay the actors and the proper CGI and audio guys and video guys, so I can help your families. Really
GodStudios.com. And I just wanted, because I know for a lot of people, all the information is out there, but I just wanted to kind of show people remote viewing is a real thing. This is CIA.gov, CIA.gov. Okay. Site that I pulled up right here, and it talks about the remote viewing and evaluation of the remote viewing program, research and operational applications. It is well known that there is a remote viewing program, and it just is, even as far-fetched as it may be, it does exist. It is a real thing. How did you get involved in that?
Well, training over 20 plus years of deep meditation, and my teacher passing on his knowledge and his energy systems on to me. And then it was my third eye was open as a little kid. So it just got more developed and stronger as I practiced and trained as the decades went on. Since I was a little kid, even living in China and so on. But you don't tell these people these things. But now, I have the credibility and got so many things right. I mean, I literally wrote down and orated the words mandated vaccines with nanotechnology and quarantines in April 2020. And I published them in my federal document in late 2019. And it was in my books as well in October 2019. And I gave a report to the CIA Covert Ops Director on think it was July 2019. By the way, I don't work for the CIA. I don't work for any agencies. But I love this country. I love America. I love our freedoms, and I love the world. I really do. And we like your support. And there's a lot of books I have on Amazon as well.
Cool. So let's talk about some of the books that you've written. Which ones are you most proud of?
I would say Artificial Intelligence, Dangerous to Humanity. In there's about 50 companies that I mentioned or apps that are dangerous to the world. I also documented how I detected the bioweapon, which I called an invisible weapon, poison. I didn't know it was called COVID back then. But strangely enough, these books were heavily censored. But I did manage to get on over 300 podcasts during the pandemic about them. But I did make comics as well, which are the prologue to the movie AI Wars. If you can see behind me, you have AI Wars 1, 2, and 3, and you have Artificial Intelligence, Dangerous to Humanity. I also put that's a sword, by the way. It's a Norse 12th century sword I have here. This here is AI, the Plan to Invade Humanity, which is from my film that helped declassify UFO files on April 24, 2020. It's the transcription of the film in book format. The book that I'm most proud of, as you mentioned, is probably this one, Artificial Intelligence, Dangerous to Humanity. And then there are other ones which are neutral to everyone, and it's The Great Reset, How Big Tech Elites and the World's People Can Be Enslaved by China's CCP or AI. Since I'm the founder of the AI organization as well, there's a few more. I have 3 comics and 6 books that I've published. And this is one of my favorite guns, by the way. It's a Nano Beretta. You can't see it, I suppose, but I thought I'd bring that up.
Nice.
Yeah, that's Alexander the Great. Yeah, you can't see it. I don't know if you can see it. And then Lady of Justice over here. So
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot of stuff. And you're in New York, or no? You're in Philadelphia.
Negative. I'm in Virginia. I'm close to Yorktown, in fact. Well, the Ballots happened, and the founding of this country. And like I said, I love the country, and I would like to sustain our freedoms. And the trailer I put out with AI Wars, what I saw in my visions was the oceans lifting and taking out the east and west coast and other places around the world, because our global leaders just got mad and we had these wars. And if you look at my trailer at the moment, we have Iran and Israel going at each other, right? And then you have the Middle East almost on fire, just like I said. Then you have the Russian submarines at our coast, just like I put a year in Africa, right? And I asked people to donate, but they didn't believe it. Just like when I asked people to help with the bioweapon COVID, people thought I was crazy. And then I turned out to be right with that, and I mandated vaccines. So I beg of you guys or someone wealthy to come along and say, yes, I will give you creative control, Cyrus, and I'll retain the executive producer, and you help the country. I don't know if we have enough time left. If these things that I saw happen, I did speak to national advisors on both sides about a year and a half ago, so they're aware of it. But still, there's a madness. You know, Turkey just said they may invade Israel. And then Russia has beef with the U.S. Under the Biden administration. And then you have China's got a beef with everyone. It's just they're acting friendly.
And 1.3 billion people or 1.6 billion people. I mean, it's like a lot of Chinese people.
A lot of Chinese people, but then you have the CCP, which they killed, 100 million of their own people. So
I know, but 100 million to them is like not
nothing.
even that much. I mean, not discounting anybody's life. I'm not saying that, but I mean, they can like knock off 50 million people. It would be like, catastrophic for the U.S. and for them, they might not even notice.
You're right about that. And I mean, in this film, AI Wars Alien Invasion, I talk about UFOs and aliens, right? Manipulating us. So in 2003, I was privy to looking and reviewing the files that were given to the Pentagon by a top researcher who was reverse engineering their spacecrafts. I did see not just the spaceships, but the aliens inside them. And if you recall, after I put out my film in 2020, 3 days later, the Pentagon said, yes, we've had off-war technology. And then on December 8th, I did a tweet to the president requesting him to put it in our, declassify our deep state UFO files. And then a couple weeks later, he put in the COVID bill. So we do have off-war technology in land here. And these technologies and the aliens in my movie, I proposed have manipulated us and are manipulating us to get into some type of war as it relates to the Great Reset. So it sounds far-fetched, but this is what I put out actually in 2019, coded in my books, and then in 2020 really specified it, early 2020, that there is an alien agenda, and UFOs not only have landed here, but there are aliens among us.
Yeah,
This
well, I
is
mean, I would think that they have to be the aliens among us. I mean, to the thought that in this vast universe of space that we're the only ones out there is just too far-fetched. And then, of course, there's stuff that even any of us maybe have seen that just doesn't make sense. So, what do you think? Do you think they're heating up the planet? Do you think the reptilians, or some other type of aliens, or they're multiple? Probably multiple.
there's multiple. I've seen. So my third eye has been open, right? That means I can see them. And in my AI Wars comics and in my film, I not only put gray aliens, but I have reptilians, and I also have ghost white ones, which I've seen. And I train sometimes 18 hours a day in China for almost a year. Then for the past 20 years, prior to the pandemic, some days I would train 10 hours a day. So I did my intel work. I have a master's degree in Homeland Security. First 100 in the nation. I have a bachelor's in international security. So the things I'm talking about, I just didn't come out of the woods, right? I have the experience, I have the credentials, and I've advised CIA directors and even presidents. But yes, these aliens exist. They're white ghost-like. There are gray aliens and there's reptilians, and there are aliens that look human. You don't know that they're human. Well, you don't know they're aliens, but they're human. They're walking around. 8 billion people, Bruce. How long would it take you to even know of the 8 billion people and see every one of their faces, even if you are director of CIA? It would take you hundreds of years.
Right.
And these guys are smarter than average person. Average person uses 3 to 5 times of their brain power any given time when they're walking around. They use a lot more. They're much more clever, and some of them are in positions of power. So it's not what you think. But I don't want to alarm your audience, but this is the truth.
Right.
We have trillions of galaxies, trillions of universes. And if you're a Christian, you can consider them as demons, right? I don't mean the Nephilians, but something different. If the creator can create angels, okay, and then demons, you can classify a bunch of different demons as a type of aliens, right? And you can classify, you have humans with multiple different ethnicities and races and languages, right? So think about how many trillions of universes are out there and different time spaces, and they come and go, right? So yes, aliens exist and they see us as primitive, but our bodies, they see it as very, very special because we're made in the image of the creator, made in the image of God. So they want our bodies.
Interesting. So, two questions. One, do you think this current Hillary Clinton is a reptilian?
No, she's not. That's Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Okay. What the heck? Who was that dropped then outside the World Trade Center those years ago?
Who was that dropped? What do you mean?
Remember, they were like loading her in the van. She like fell into the van.
But here's the thing: people are controlled through MK Ultra. A lot of our Hollywood elites, our musicians, and our politicians, they are actually manipulated, influenced, and controlled. Even people in our Congress and our bankers and our media heads by MK Ultra. And this MK Ultra is actually done by these UFOs. So the concept of this film is very deep, but I say that our generals and presidents are being controlled by these UFOs through MK Ultra to get in World War III. You see? So because these generals and presidents also use 3 or 5% of their brain power, they have their suits on. The presidents, they're world leaders, they're generals and admirals with huge egos, but at the end of the day, use 3 or 5%. These aliens are much more smarter. They're like an AI system, right? So think about it. And even the remote viewers that suck at the CIA, sorry, it's not very good because I predicted they didn't. They're being manipulated, and visions are being given to their minds so it can mess them up, right? So there's a lot of things I could say, but it would scare your audience. So I don't want to. But they're in a different time space as well. So
that was true. Go ahead.
Yes. To manipulate the entire civilization of humanity, you'd have to have places like Discovery Channel saying, they are our forefathers. They were here 2,000 years ago. They made us. Bullshit. Those guys are mind controlled to say that. What it says in the ancient Avestan text, in the Persian text, in the Falun Dafa text, in the Tibetans, in the Bhagavad Gita, about these aliens is that they're not only demons, but we are made in the image of God. We're created by a higher power. Definitely not these reptilian aliens that require spaceships, right? So the creator or the angels that were here in the past, or you can call them gods or Buddhas, they had omnipotent powers. They were at the atomic layer. They could perform miracles. This is before the prehistoric civilization. So my AI wars restriction, that's from 12,000 years ago. I talk about how there was a flood, but then the planet was destroyed through a flood. And prior to that, there was angels and gods living here teaching humanity. So, and when I say gods, it's just semantic. It's the same thing as saying angels. It's just different cultures that use different things. So Buddha's, gods, Taoists, and angels, it's really the same thing. It just means divine beings or beings who are immortal, like the Greeks. So it's semantics, and today's pastors don't understand it because the way Christianity was spread, people didn't get that much education. And, the real Christians and the real Hebrews were slaughtered by the Romans at the order of the moneylenders for about 300 years. So not many of the true ones remain. Jesus Christ, he was crucified by the moneylenders.
Yep. So pretty interesting. So then my follow-up question was on time. Time has always been something that very much interested me. So how do you see time existing?
So we do have parallel universes. We have different dimensions, and those times are affecting our planet Earth. And in the intermediary, these aliens are in our galaxy. So they're trying to affect those time spaces that are affecting our planet through a negative timeline. So I saw the negative timeline was going to happen. A few billion people were going to extinct it. And I came out, I launched a federal document in December and February 2020. Right out a couple months after 2019, saying the world's in danger. There's a bioweapon. We've paid for it. It's going to lock everyone down AI censorship, and that will lead to hypersonic missiles. It's in writing, my federal document. It reached 180 countries. I put the same thing in my books. Right before that, I advised the CIA Core Ops Director. I tried to talk to President Trump in person, but excuse my language, the inner circle of cockblocking. They're incompetent fools around him who have power, and competent fools. Yes, they hid my warning of COVID.
Yeah.
And mandated vaccines. And I spent 2 years on social media trying to hide my warning while your family suffered from mandated jabs or they suffer from COVID or lockdowns. That is the truth. And these people around President Trump, as the lady that extra told me in person, they're cock blocking you, Cyrus. They need to be removed because they're incompetent and they caused the president to lose in 2020. So you need people like you, Bruce, me, and a few other people that love the country that can advise the president properly. And I believe he's a better choice than the left, because if you look at
it doesn't take much to be better than the left.
But because there was no wars during, here's the thing: the liberal side, they're more on the feminine side. And they're more, they let things go to a certain degree, and it emboldens terrorist factions. And they want to go to war with it afterwards, and then create World War III. So it's like No, you have to show strength and not let it happen. That's the issue. But getting back to your question, time spaces, yes. To alter a timeline, so I'm asking you guys, please get up, donate to GetStudios.com, find me an executive producer that will give me creative control. Let me do this movie in time, give me an international platform like you are. And I believe your very lives are in danger, and your families and your futures are in deep danger. Yes, these hypersonic missiles can go off at any time. We got 40 miles from our coast in Florida, by DC and New York and California. These submarines are floating around, and they have hypersonic missiles inside them with nuclear warheads from Russia and China and proxies of Iran. Here's the thing. It doesn't come from them, this war. It comes from us supporting factions in the Middle East because they're creating issues, the Middle Eastern zone. So it's like both sides are being manipulated, and there's an alien agenda behind it. That's why I call it AI wars, alien invasion. Get it? So yes, and this timeline is a negative timeline, and I want to alter this timeline with your help. And the future, I've seen the future. I don't want to say it. It's pretty horrible. Society can collapse anytime when this kind of stuff happens. And the power that people have, these presidents, these directors of CIAs, and these governments, they will have power themselves. They will lose everything. So, and there are aliens on this planet, and they're all aliens that fly with their spaceships. They're here for 2 seconds, and they're gone to another time space. They come back, and they affect our civilization, but for their own goal, because they want the planet themselves, and also human bodies. So this is deep stuff. Sounds fine. But let me tell you, the one man who predicted, detected, and warned of COVID, mandated vaccines, lockdowns, riots, and the wars, and named who they were and wrote it down before they happened, is telling you that this is the truth.
So we can change it. We can change it.
Yes, but here's the thing. Why is human race facing this? Because of our ethics or morals. We have to put down selfishness, fear, greed, jealousy, all these things that have. So without these, the aliens can't really manipulate us, right? So ego, pride, all these things that exist, right? The vice that exists in humanity. The ancient Greeks, the Stoics, talked about this, right? To not have vice and replace it with virtue. Virtue is missing for the human race. More so, why did Persia fall? Was it because Persians were weak? No, they lost their virtue. They became drugs and alcoholics and addicted to some things and lust and so on. They lost. Why did Rome fall? They became alcoholics, drug addicts, and addicted to orgies and different things, and they lost their discipline. Same with the Greeks. But who made it happen? The moneylenders behind the scenes. Same moneylenders who crucified, had Jesus crucified. Now, I'm not talking about a particular race of people, okay? I'm saying to you that there's been moneylenders who have controlled the human race for the past 2,300 years. They sank Persia, they sank Rome, they sank Greece. They took the religion that went up to Eastern Europe and then Western Europe. They forced the type of religion that caused an intermediary between pastors and Jesus through God, instead of having Jesus through God. See, so they were even against Jesus. So these moneylenders have caused most of the wars and even the slavery behind in America. It didn't happen from the white people. I'm sorry. It happened from the moneylenders, even from the people who were traveling the world. There were always these moneylenders. They exist today, and they're controlling New York and a lot of the media we have. I'm partly Jewish, okay? So don't say I'm being anti-Semitic. I'm not talking about the Jewish people. I'm talking about moneylenders. But most of them happen to be having to claim they're Jewish, but they're not. The real Hebrews, they were persecuted. They were fed to the lions. That's the truth. So please don't go hating your fellow Jewish person or Arab or Persian, whatever it is.
I was talking about this setup earlier in the show with the money lending and how that has there's no way out of it. Like it has to end somewhere. Like we are $35 trillion in debt right now, and you know. What's the way out? You have to end the Fed. Like you have to get yourself out of this system of of money lending and usury, or because it only leads to one place, and that's slavery.
Yes, and that's what's happened. However, if we were to end the system the moment, the economy would sink. So it has to be a transition from it. It would take some time, but we got to stop these wars, and we can't hate each other, right? Whether if you're Jewish, Arab, Persian, Anglo, Black, Indian, love your neighbor. And as Jesus or Buddha had taught, love your neighbor and love yourself, and don't get angry, and lead your life with compassion and give. It's very, very important. And don't have fear. It's very important in your lives that you never have fear. Fear can take you down the wrong path. And here's the thing. In this dimension, this time space, everything is controlled with desire and lust, right? So humans puppeteered because they're interested in sex, right? So then they're at a low frequency. I'm not saying don't have sex. I'm not saying enjoy those pleasures with someone you love. What I'm saying is that don't be controlled by that. And porn, that controls your brain, that hurts you. So there's so many things I can say and go on for hours. But I want to make this film, AI Wars Alien Invasion. I would love the support of the Jewish community. I would love the support of the AND community. And of anyone who loves this country, loves their families. GodSees.com is where I need donations from.
All right. Well, I think that's probably a good moment to wrap up here. Go to godstudios.com, and just to echo kind of what he said, I talk about it on the show all the time. It doesn't matter where in the world you go, and I've been to many places, whether it's in the Middle East or it's in Asia or it's in Latin America or Europe or here. We all pretty much want the same things. Humans want the same things. We want prosperity, we want a family, and we want a safe place that we can leave our future generations. And so universally, that is what we all want, and we should focus on that. So check out Cyrus Parsa, interesting guy, creator of AI Wars. Go to godstudios.com. That's God Studios with an S. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Yeah. Thank you, Bruce, and your audience. Appreciate it.
All right. Cheers, brother. We will talk soon. Cheers.
Your voice is powerful. When combined with social engagement, it's a force for change. Decentralized media paired with free speech is the catalyst for an empowered world and a unified, invaluable ecosystem. Join Global Boost, become a champion of free speech, and help to reshape the future of media.